Hi everyone, Electro here. I'm just going to do a video tonight on casting, in particular casting 3D prints. Why I'm doing this is because I know a few of you are considering casting your prints, and this is just a couple of basic things you should be aware to give you a better result in the end. First things we'll do is talk about the mould. This is a pattern. We can, for argument's say, that it's a plastic pattern. That section there is called a sprue, which is the channel that the molten metal can flow into, and this is a ring. Now what you would normally do is place a ring around your pattern, mix up your plaster and sand, pour it into the mould, wait for it to harden, so when you take it off the base you've got a mould with a cavity inside which is filled with the pattern. Now after you put that in the furnace, the pattern will burn out, which will leave you a mould with a vacant cavity where the pattern used to be. The advantage to this is because you can cast far more intricate patterns that would otherwise be impossible to make, because especially if your patterns have got undercuts in them or they've got hollow sections or anything like that, you can't really make a mould where you take it apart, remove the pattern and then put the mould back together. It's too hard to do, and a lot of the times it just won't work. It's impossible. But with the lost wax technique you can do that quite easily. Now the drawback to that is the thin sections, and in this case I've made a drawing with fins to illustrate my point. When you make your mould, the investment material or your plaster and sand mix will run down in between the thin sections, and after the pattern is burnt out in the furnace you will have very thin sections of investment material in there to complete, which are part of the mould. Now as you know, when you heat things up they expand, in particular plastics, then they can expand with quite a great deal of force, enough actually to break these thin sections, which will end up being an incomplete cast, and it will also have inclusions in it because all these missing or all these broken bits will end up somewhere inside the pattern itself, so you'll have bits of investment where there should be a casting, and it'll give you in effect a porous casting. In consideration you guys should make when you're making a 3D print to cast is to make it as hollow as you can. That's the infill, to be as porous as possible, still with an external finish which is quite good to give you a good finish. But the reason for this is the expansion, as I've said before. Now you can imagine in a dense casting, because it's dense, the pattern is going to expand with a great deal of force going outwards because the inside of it is solid. Now this happens between the stage where the plastic is hot enough to either burn off or melt away. Just before that it will expand, so that's the time when your investment can crack. It can also cause fins, which are cracks along the investment material, say there and there, so when you cast it you have metal pouring into the crack section, which is fins. It's quite troublesome sometimes to remove, especially in fine areas like that. However, if you make your pattern hollow, what that does is allow the expansion of the material to go inwards, because internally it's hollow. It doesn't place that much force on the external sections of the mould, which will keep it intact. So after you cast it, now whether you use centrifugal casting, gravity casting, or as I use vacuum pressure induction casting, it's irrelevant in this case because it's more to do with the quality of the print. Again, if you make it hollow, it'll expand inwards, not outwards as it would with a solid pattern, which will decrease any surface imperfections and cracks which will affect the casting. So very basic point, but it's one that is missed by a lot of people. So I hope this helps. If you've got any other questions, please post your comments. Bye.